It's time to prepare your home for winter. This is our review of Creature Comforts.
Creature Comforts is a combination dice and worker placement game where your goal is to craft the best collection of comforts by the end of the game. And I had a lot of fun making my den all cozy.
This game had a lot of elements that I really enjoyed, and I was even okay with the dice rolling. We'll tell you all about it after this quick how to play. Creature Comforts takes place over 8 rounds in the spring, summer, and fall.
Players will place their workers and dice on different locations in order to collect resources to craft different comfort cards.
At the start of each round, players roll the 2 family dice and then place their workers on different locations.
Then a player will roll the village dice, and each player will combine the village dice with their family dice in order to take the actions at each worker locations.
This means that sometimes a player may not have the dice needed to perform the action at each of their workers' location.
At the end of their turn, players can craft their comfort cards using the resources they've collected. The comfort cards are worth points at the end of the game.
Players can also earn points by building improvement cards and by adding resources on top of their comfort cards for bonus points.
The player with the most points at the end of 8 rounds wins.
This was another game that we saw on Kickstarter. We love the look of the artwork, we love the look of the pieces, we like the gaming company, Kids Table Board Gaming, so we were really interested in seeing what their Kickstarter was about and possibly backing it. And Lee decided to back it. So Lee, what made you want to back it?
So I think what it really was, this, and I think that other game, Silverwood Grove, around that time, we had just started playing Everdell. So I was like, okay, cool. Forest theme, a lot of animals, a lot of cool pieces. So when I saw these, I was like, oh, I wonder how that adds up, or is it similar? Is it completely different? I really liked Everdell, so maybe this is something I'll like too.
There will be a lot of comparisons to Everdell from us and from other reviewers that you see online. And I'd say that it's an apt comparison, but at the same time, this is definitely different. This does have a dice placement mechanic as well as the worker placement. So you got to roll the dice and then you got to place the dice with your worker in order to execute the action. So it's a little bit more complicated. Not complicated, that's the wrong word, but it's a little bit more involved than Everdell, and there's a lot more thinking. Once you've placed your workers and then you have your dice, it's a lot of doing math of where can I put the dice to do what I need to do, and I need this dice here, but this dice has to go here, and then I can add or subtract points from the dice to make them different numbers. So there's a little bit more thinking as you're placing your worker with this game versus Everdell.
Now this was the higher pledge level on Kickstarter that gave you all these cool pieces, so I think that's what really drew me to it. Whatever's out there in retail, I'm not really sure what you can get, but definitely if you can get these pieces, get them, because I always like all the cool pieces that these games come with.
So the comfort cards is something that I really love because you have all the different things that you're building for the winter. So you can build a lamp, or you can build some, not build, but like craft some bread. You need the resources to craft some bread. But then 3 of the cards that I really liked are kind of Easter eggs in the game. So they're the board game cards. And one of the board games is Fossilis, a game also by Kids Table Board Gaming. So I really thought that was clever. But then they also have a couple other ones. They don't list them by name, but you also have Wingspan in there, and you also have Everdell in there. So it's kind of funny that a game that obviously takes a lot of inspiration from Everdell includes an inspiration of Everdell in the actual game.
Their homage.
Yeah.
An homage, if you will.
It's like they're saying, yes, yeah, we know we're going to get the comparisons and people are going to say, oh, it's like Everdell, so we're going to throw it in there as kind of that wink, wink, you know.
I must say, I really do like the combination dice and worker placement because you'll place your workers and then when you look at what dice you have to like kind of weigh like, all right, I can do this or I can do that. But in the very beginning, when you're placing your workers, you don't really know what the village dice are going to be. So you're kind of hedging some bets where you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do this and I'm pretty sure I can do this. But then when those 4 village dice roll and you combine it with your family dice, that's when you're like, okay, can I do what I thought I could? Or am I just going to have to let one worker like go unresource collected?
You roll the dice, and then you place the dice on a location to perform the action. But you can only do that with a worker that you place there before you rolled the dice. So it's kind of a gamble, kind of like craps. You're kind of betting that certain numbers will be rolled and hoping. Why I'm kind of okay with this, I'm still not a huge fan of dice, but I'm pretty okay with this game, is because there are so many options to choose from, and some of the locations don't require a certain dice number. They just require a dice being played on there. So you can always take that location. So they kind of mitigated the luck of the dice a little bit by giving you those options where you can always perform something. You're never gonna feel like, I wasn't able to do anything this round. What am I? Ugh.
So the idea or the goal is there, right? You're a creature, you have a den, you're trying to fill it with all these comforts for winter. And these comforts, it's not just like one and done, right? It's not like, oh, I'm building the chair, building the skis. Sometimes they can be paired with other cards to give you like combo points, or you can add other things to it to get even more points. So it's not as simple as just those. You also have these improvement cards, which kind of add like an engine building type to the game. So you can get those early on and get benefits from those too. So overall, it's not too much of a simple like, okay, 1 point, 2 point, 3 points. Okay, come on, let's hurry up and go.
There is a lot going on in this game, and it's set up to go over 8 rounds. In the rule books, it says you can play a 6-round game for kids or people who don't want to play as long of a game. And I would highly recommend probably going the 6 rounds, because 8 rounds took too long. It took way over the 45 minutes that the box says.
One thing I always enjoy about these games is finding how we can interact with each other. Now, sometimes Kenny might not like it, because if I do something that affects him too much, then it could just throw him off altogether. But with this game, I think it has a nice balance. The only really way that we can kind of affect each other's moves is if I draft a card, a comfort that maybe someone else wanted, or an improvement that someone else wanted. There is one other mechanic that I kind of liked. One of the improvements allows you to change the village dice on your turn, and then everyone else after you has to use what that was. I like it and I hate it at the same time, because if I'm last and I saw the village dice go and then I'm like, okay, planning, and then someone's first turn, they change the village dice. Now that's just ruined everything. Now I'm like, okay, I got to recalibrate now. Why did you do that?
So one of the downsides of this game and why it can draw out so long is because this game actually creates 2 rounds of possibilities where a player can have analysis paralysis. So you have the family dice that you roll, and then you place your workers. So first you have, okay, where should I place my workers? I might have these dice, you gotta think, and then you place them, and then everyone's thinking, everyone's taking their time. Then you roll the village dice, and then you go through analysis paralysis all over again, because, okay, now I see where my workers are, and now I have these dice, how am I gonna place them? And as Lee just pointed out, if someone messes up with the dice or changes them or adjusts them and then it gets to you again, that could be a 3rd round that there's a possible analysis paralysis. So there's a lot of times the mechanics in this game kind of force it to be longer unnecessarily.
So overall, like I said, what really caught my eye was just the theming, the animal theming, the pieces. You know, even this first player token is a worm, right? Because the early bird gets the worm. And then even the mechanics. Yeah, 8 rounds can be a little much. I guess I can see that now. But overall, I had a lot of fun. I'll play it again, and I'd probably give it a 7.
Overall, I love the artwork, I love the theming, I love the idea of the game where your creature is creating your comforts for the winter time and you got to collect resources and then build the cards, etc., etc. So I love a lot about the game. The dice, I could take it or leave it. They don't really offend me that much in this game. I would still like not to have dice. So having a game with the same concept without the dice would be better, which is probably people are going to say, oh, well, that's Everdell, go play it, which I will. Everdell's definitely better than this game, but I still enjoyed this game. So I'm also going to give it a 7. And that was our review of Creature Comforts.
What'd you think? What would be your most important comfort for the winter? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you're enjoying this content, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to watch our review of Fossilis, check out the link in our description below.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
I'm Kenny. Now go party like a board gamer.